He doesn't listen to it. He just edits it out. He just scrubs it until he hears us start the show and deletes all the back stuff. So he doesn't love us.
Should we just talk like he's scrubbing it, just like, and then just start?
Well, we should do like a fake intro and then do the real intro. No, he'd probably just delete that too because he hates us.
Yeah, and also too, he can make us say whatever. He has that power.
Yeah, Elijah should make us say the N-word.
Has he grown too powerful? Must he be stopped?
Yeah, I think we have to kill Elijah and bring in Josh so I can just glaze him every episode.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe we just Elijah's grown too powerful and we need to do something about it, and that's just how it is. Because, I mean, I think that is in all friendship contracts. There is a part of it where it's like, you know, because if I grew too powerful, I'll call it the Batman clause. Like, if I grew too powerful, I would expect you two to stop me.
We just have case files on every member of the group and how to stop them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for me, you just dangle guns inside of a white van, and I jump in, and then you guys just kill me. It'd be pretty easy.
What would Elijah's doomsday protocol plan be called?
Oh, it'd be Project MTG.
Oh, yeah.
And what we do is same white van, throw a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards in there, and like pretty good cards. And then also throw some like fantasy novels in there.
Like
and
sex fantasy?
No. Fantasy is in like medieval dragons and stuff.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And then as soon as he gets in there, because I mean he'll get in there, he can't resist. And then we just get after it at that point. And then we kill him.
I have to admit, that would work, sadly.
All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
MotherGoose, standing by.
Lowtech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Oh. And that's the cold open. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Animal Squadron podcast. I'm your host, HouseDog, and with me, as always, my very best friend, the only one I can count on that shows up regularly. He's here. He's hairy. Get used to it. The one and only Lowtech Tuck.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, your main man, the best, the greatest, Lowtech.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, today is episode 99. We're back with Acolyte. Did we do? Yeah. What did we do last week? What was last
Outlaws.
week? Outlaws. Oh yeah, we did Outlaws. It has felt longer than a week for some reason for me.
Dude, me too. I mean, like, I think it's just because we've both gotten a lot busier the past couple of weeks. And it's just like, these weeks feel like lifetimes right now.
Yeah, but I guess it's because we're actually staying on schedule for once with the show. So we're releasing episodes in a timely manner. There's not huge stop gaps between them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I guess, since you were gone for a long time, like, this might be like the first year that you've been able to record regularly, isn't it?
Since we started, yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's something to celebrate. That's cool.
And celebrate we will, because
that's right.
Next week is episode 100.
That's right, and we got something special planned.
Even though it's already happened.
Yeah, it has. From the future.
Yeah, podcast from the future coming to your inbox wherever you listen next week.
Yep. Also, to the future comment is a very, very subtle hint as to what it's about.
Okay.
Yep. I'm just going to drop that hint and just let people I just want to give you just a little bit of hype, a little bit of anxiety. Just let that keep you awake at night.
I'm sure everyone's on the edge of their seat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be cool. It's not just a bunch of guys arguing for 2 hours. It's not.
Oh, we did the 100th episode twice. No, but today we're back on Acolyte, episode 7. We're one episode... Excuse me, sorry. Elijah, edit all my hiccups out.
No, I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Oh, and I forgot, since Elijah's not here, we can just do that the entire show.
That's true.
Oh,
Editor
no.
Elijah, Google this, Google that.
No, the hiccups. Episode 7, Acolyte, called Choice. This is the flashback episode. I think Elijah was right in telling us that was it last episode or episode before that was like the highlight of the season? Was it episode? I think it was episode 5.
It was Night, whichever one that was. I think that was 6. No,
Hey,
no, you're right. It's 5. It's 5.
Well, you know the great thing? We can just ask editor Elijah what episode it was.
That's true. You know what? Why don't we even try? Oh, we've got our boy.
Bing! Editor Elijah here. It was episode 5.
This episode will just be us saying random things and then telling Elijah to look it up. So he has to record in post, splice his own audio in between us.
Oh man, I like it.
Listen,
it a lot. Actually, you know what?
everyone.
Should we just do such a bad job that Elijah just has to record the episode himself?
No.
Just because it's that bad.
That we won't do that.
Was that a too far tuck moment?
It's too far tuck. You know what?
Okay,
New
yeah.
segment on the show. Too far tuck. Tuck, what's your opinion?
I mean, I just said I said what I'm willing to say. I said what's appropriate to say. I could say other stuff, but people wouldn't like it. So
I disagree. Subscribe to our Patreon that doesn't exist yet to hear all of Tuck's opinions.
we'll just
For
have
$5.
We'll just have an R-rated segment.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
too
for
far
it.
tuck where I just say crazy things, just crazy wild things that I don't even believe, but it's just to make people feel shocked.
They're things that have no basis in actual anything. It's just you saying things.
Well, yeah, like it's like how Genghis Khan actually lived, and he's been living on the moon for 500 years.
Dude, don't get me started on conspiracy theories. Like the other
Put your
day.
tinfoil hat on, dude. Let's do it.
No, man, the
At
other
some
day I
point.
was listening to Joe Rogan, and it was like a month ago or something, I think, and he had on somebody explaining how the 1969 moon landing was fake.
Oh yeah, one of those people. I like it.
Dude, I listened to it and I was like, the moon landing might have been fake.
I find those people entertaining, to be honest. I don't know.
Well, I don't buy into like all the like conspiracy theories and everything, but I don't know, man. I don't know if the 1969 moon landing happened.
Bing! Editor Elijah here. I just want to come in real quick and say, as somebody who has an in-depth knowledge on the film industry and lighting and all of that, to dumb it down as simple as possible, the US government just did not have the technology at the time to create the proper lighting to fake the moon landing. They so didn't have the proper lighting that it would have cost them more to make the proper lighting at the time to fake the moon landing than it would have to actually go to the moon. That's all. Goodbye. So I'll probably be back later.
I really believe it did, but at the same time, I'm the kind of guy where I'll watch a video anyway. Tell me that it's fake, just because I find it entertaining.
I don't know, dude. Just the stuff they were saying. I'm not saying we never went to the moon. I do think we have gone to the moon. Do I think we went to the moon in 1969? I don't know.
I say yes, personally.
I don't know. Also, which astronaut is still alive out of the two original guys? Is it Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin that's still
I believe
alive?
Buzz Aldrin is still alive. And he's also
Yeah.
the one who punched a guy for saying that it's fake.
Dude, no. Well, maybe they're both still alive. Because one of them, Editor Elijah, find out which astronaut is still alive.
Bing! Editor Elijah here. It was Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin. Neil Armstrong died August 25th, 2012, and Aldrin is still alive.
One of them, like, went to Antarctica or something. Have you heard of that one? That there's, like, this giant pyramid under the ice in Antarctica?
That is a wild statement.
Well, they did, like, LiDAR or something, and there's definitely something down there, and... yeah, man. I don't know. Should we stop talking about things that have nothing to do with this show so Elijah doesn't get upset with us?
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, I will just say, we were talking about space, so we were sort of on topic. That's all I'm saying. We were close. We just barely missed that field goal, but that's okay. We'll line up and try again.
It'll be okay.
Yep.
It'll be okay. You know, it's Elijah's fault for not being here. If he didn't want this to be our variety hour, he would be here.
Yep, that little baby man.
He knows that this is what happens when you and I are left to our own devices.
I get a feeling that he gets enjoyment out of it. I think he likes it.
Yeah, well, since Elijah isn't here, Tuck, have you seen any Star Wars stuff recently that you've just been thinking about?
Well, honestly, I read Master and Apprentice, which was good. It's very good.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other week.
I've been thinking about that a little bit, honestly. It's not anything crazy, but like, you know, it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, then also it's like kind of a fantasy setting, like they're like protecting a queen, and there's a Lord Regent, and there's also like evil guys, and there's slavery, and like Qui-Gon wants to stop the slavery, and like it's a very interesting book.
I've been thinking about Grievous a lot lately.
Grievous is pretty cool.
Yeah. I just want more about like what happened to him after he blew up on Utapau. Because I think it was a comic where he like, it's not Grievous, but like it's the body of Grievous gets brought back. And I think we talked about it on the show before. Are you familiar?
No, he wasn't just dead?
Well, yeah, Obi-Wan like killed him and everything, but there was like this crazy doctor, or like he's called a doctor, he's a scientist or something. And somehow he winds up with Grievous's body and brings his body back as like this crazy assassin thing.
That's interesting. Are any of the bionic parts present?
Yeah, it's like his whole body.
Like including the machine?
Yeah.
Really? That's interesting. Well, I'd love to find that. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, you should look it up. Everybody should look it up. Elijah, give a brief synopsis of whatever I've been talking about for the past 5 minutes.
Bing, editor Elijah here. What Mac is talking about, if you want to do some more research on this character, is NK Necrosis. This is a droid that the Empire made during the Galactic Civil War using what was left of General Grievous's body. During the Clone Wars, after Grievous died, Palpatine had Grievous's body stored on Utapau, and that's how they retrieved his parts. That being said, NK Necrosis is not General Grievous. While they share mostly the same body, they are two separate beings. Also, I just want to say that NK Necrosis is described as sentient and highly independent. While we're talking about sentient droids, did you guys know that in Legends there was a Force-sensitive droid? They referred to him as Skippy the Jedi Droid. This was actually R5-D4. This is the astromech that Luke initially chooses in Episode 4, but then malfunctions, leading Luke to choosing R2-D2. Now, in this story, Skippy has a Force vision of Luke being the hero that he is, and purposely malfunctions because he knows Luke and R2-D2 need to come together as a team. Anyway, isn't that so cool that we have a Force-sensitive droid and a droid described as sentient? I just love that.
But, well, okay. I guess we'll be nice now, and we'll start the episode. I will say, actually, you know what? What did you think about this episode overall? Like, if you had to, like, just put it in the series as, like, one of your favorites, or like not one of your favorites, or like what? Just generally, how do you feel?
Oh no, this is like bottom tier for me.
Really?
Yeah, did not enjoy that much, and I will explain why. I won't just say that and then go on.
Yeah, dude, I am a sucker for plot. I liked it. I really
It's
did.
not that I don't like plot and furthering plot and characters' motivations for things. Like, that's fine. But with, like, the season 1 of any show, you generally have anywhere from 8 to 10 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Which means within those 8 to 10 episodes, you have to really get the viewership that you need in order to justify a second season to a network, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like for an episode 7 for this, the stakes were not high enough.
I somewhat agree with that. I think actually this episode, I really liked it, but I would have liked it more if they had put it earlier.
Yeah.
Because like with the whole stakes thing, like you're kind of hurting the stakes by explaining what happened, and then you go back and explain why. And I think I would have liked it more if it was the reverse. Like you explain why and then what happened.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, did you ever watch Arrow?
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
watched
TV show?
like 4 seasons of it. I never like finished it, but I watched a lot. Yeah.
So do you remember how like every season they would go back and uncover more of like Oliver's time on the island and like how he actually like went back and everything before he was like
Yeah.
rescued and stuff?
Yeah. And also they would do it like late in the season, like almost as filler.
Yeah, but I like those episodes. I never had a problem with them. I liked Arrow as a TV show. I like most of the DC TV shows.
Yeah.
So I guess to compare it, like I kind of lost it with Flash. And once they started doing the whole like DC Legends of Tomorrow thing, I quit watching the DC shows completely because it was just ridiculous. Excuse me, sorry. But it was just like, I don't want to watch 20 shows to understand something. Dang it, Tuck. Why do we do this every time? We talk about
no.
Star Wars.
No, I'm gonna get you back on track though. But like, so you were trying to relate Arrow to this show?
Yeah. So
just finish that up. What
yeah,
do you mean by that?
they would do those flashbacks and stuff, and I thought they were really done, and I thought they advanced the story like a lot. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of this episode, and I guess we're almost at the end now. We've got one last episode of Acolyte. I don't know. I just feel like this wasn't a very strong finish for the penultimate episode.
Yeah, but also I think the build up to the end is good, but I just think it's kind of weird that it's all somewhat out of order. Like I don't have any problems with the plot itself. I like it, but it's just I think I would have ordered it differently. But I think that's also too kind of an unfair way to look at it because everyone's different. Like one director versus like me, who's just a dude. Like that's, I think we're kind of moving goalposts at that point, I guess. But
Where would you have placed this episode earlier in the season?
I think it would have been stronger to do. What was the original flashback episode? Was that episode 2 or was it episode 3?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I would do this as the next one.
You want to know something great about that, Tuck? That you
What?
don't remember which episode it was?
What's that?
Elijah, can you tell us which episode the flashback was originally in?
You're such a jerk. I like it.
Hey, if he's not going to be here, he's got to work for his money that we don't pay him, or,
That's right. That's right.
you know.
It was Acolyte Episode 3, Destiny. While I have the mic, did you guys know that there is a sentient species of rocks referred to as shards in Star Wars Legends? Not only were they sentient, but they could also be force sensitive. And they were given droid bodies to control. Now, obviously, these are not droids. They would be more in line with cyborgs, or maybe even you could consider them mechs. However, I think if a rock can be sentient and force sensitive, why can't droids? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that probably would have been a good spot.
Yeah, like, like have this be have the flashback, the original flashback episode go the way it went, and then have this as a filler so that you see everything that happened and then continue the story.
Right, use it as more of a bridge rather than a
second to last episode. I just think that was kind of like, cause for instance, like Night would have been a better, or I'm sorry, the one after Night, episode 6, the one that the last one we recorded, that one I think would have been a better second to last episode, because everything that happens in episode 8 happens just after what's episode 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I just think like more of a chronological order would have been nicer. However, I have no problems with the plot. I actually really like this show a lot right now, which I know, like, I have been eating crow for 8 episodes. I hated this show when it came out. And I'm a fan. I am a fan now. I actually like it a lot.
I don't know. I have some problems with this episode.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Into it.
Like I said, this is flashback. We're on Brendock. However many years ago, I don't remember what it said.
16.
Yeah, I was gonna say 16, but I didn't want to be wrong.
Well, you were right.
Kelnaka's back because it's in the past, so he's not dead yet for the 5 minutes he was in the show.
Yeah, but also in this episode, we get to see him fight. We get to see him for a lot of the episode, which I actually really enjoyed.
I still don't think I'll ever forgive this show for having a Wookiee Jedi and only getting like 10 minutes of screen time.
Fair enough. But also on the other hand, Star Wars does that a lot.
True.
Like for instance, Dooku, Boba Fett, like a lot of fan favorites started out with like virtually no screen time.
Okay, quick tangent.
What's that?
Have you mentioned Boba Fett, and I just saw this the other day. Have you seen the report that Tamara Morrison is no longer like a part of Star Wars?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that he's not going to be returning as Boba Fett in any future projects.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because he's literally the face of all of the clones and Boba and Jango. Like, he plays all of them.
Yeah, apparently it was because of how well received Boba Fett was. He just didn't feel like doing the character again for something. But who knows? Maybe Dave can maybe Dave can talk to him, for his movie and be like, "We need you tomorrow.
Yeah.
We need you."
Yeah. I mean, I would be right there with him if I could. I'd be like, "Yo, dude, we need you." But on the other hand, I mean, maybe it's like kind of the whole Hugh Jackman thing and not wanting to play Wolverine, where it's like, like, because that was like, that's the most famous role he's ever played. And maybe he wants to kind of expand his career.
I don't know. Hugh Jackman's done.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Yeah,
I'm
but like his most.
I'm comparing the two.
Yeah,
but I'm just
his
saying,
like most prolific.
Yeah,
is
so I'm saying
Wolverine.
like, yeah, and like Tamora Morrison, kind of same thing. I'm sure he's been in other stuff, but I don't know what else he's been in, to be honest. But anyway, maybe it's kind of one of those things where it's like he's tired of playing the same character for 20 years. I can understand it.
Yeah, but we just got him back.
Yeah, but also maybe that was whatever he said, like, okay, fine, I'll come back. Like, like maybe he had been tired of it for a long time at that point. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure it's also like super I can't think of the word, but like whenever you're like let down by something that you're excited for and your like expectations aren't met,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we got him in Mando, and then, you know, he got his own show. And I'm not going to say Book of Boba Fett was the best Star Wars show that's ever been released, because it wasn't. It had some good moments, and it had some not so great moments.
Yeah,
As,
and also,
as a
too, let's
whole-
be real, it's Mando season 2.5.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, which
Yeah.
I think really hurt that show.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you see Mando come in, he completely steals the show.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And like, that's why, like, too, I'm not even kidding that it's just Mando season 2.5. It's, like, literally how I feel
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
I did too, but there were a lot of good moments in Boba too, and I enjoyed getting to see his whole arc with the Tuskens and coming back.
Yeah, I did too. I liked that show quite a bit, but
Who knows? I hope Tamara Morrison comes back.
I do too. I like him. But yeah, so
Back to Brendock.
yeah, so what are your problems with this episode? Like, I guess let's go there first.
Yeah, I didn't take any notes. I just kind of watched the episode.
Yeah, same. But I mean, like, we can kind of, because, you know, we talk about it all the time. Like, if you're listening to this episode of the podcast and you haven't seen this episode of the show, go back and watch this episode of the show and then listen to this podcast. That's what I would say.
I think the
'Cause
one that I can
we're not
think
going to
of
keep it in order.
right now was I enjoyed whenever they started talking about like virginces in the Force.
Yeah, I like that too.
I really liked that because I was like, cool. The only other person we've ever heard say this is Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
I think Obi-Wan mentioned it in Clone Wars, like before the Mortis trilogy. I think they called it a virgins.
Yeah, and we've seen virginces a couple times, like namely in Empire, Dagobah in the Force Cave. Like that's an example of a virgins, just so people
Yeah.
can kind of wrap their mind around it. Yeah.
Yeah, all virginces is like an event or a place or something that has happened in the universe that basically in the Star Wars universe, a virgins is like a miracle.
Yeah, it's where the cosmic force meets the living force.
And yeah, an event happens. A virgins can be, well, if we're going by like movies, you know, Phantom Menace, whenever Qui-Gon meets Anakin, he tells the council that he's met a virgins in the Force, and the council asks him like, you know, what is it? And he's like, this little boy, a virgin surrounding a person and all that. And I was like, cool, we're getting a virgins in the Force. Brendock is a virgin because like some hyperspace accident happened, and like for some reason Brendock is thriving when it should be like a wasteland and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is probably due to the Dark Witch's magic and everything. And so they were talking about the virgins, and then
You mean the creation of them?
yeah,
Has to do with it? Yeah.
I know this was like a big problem with everybody whenever this show came out. And I don't know. I'm not trying to switch up at the end of the season here and say that I hate this show now after I've like praised it for so many things. But this episode was kind of weak for me, and I don't know, man. I don't like how they did the whole virgins thing with the twins, and how there might have been some like cloning things involved, and like that's fine and everything. And I hate that you haven't, I mean, I'm glad that you didn't have it spoiled for you, but I wish we were on the last episode of the season so I could completely tell you my ideas.
Yeah, I did. Actually, one thing I liked about this episode was, as far as the virgins and stuff like that goes, one thing I thought was, and actually liked is a different word from what I mean. I thought it was interesting, this part, where whenever, what is the leader of the Children of the Thread's name?
I don't know.
Mother, well, we'll just call her Mother, because that's what the kids call her anyway. How she and Tobin have a like siren like moment where like
Yeah,
she gets
when she
inside
enters
his
his
mind,
mind.
and she's seducing him, and then all of a sudden, as soon as she can, she just like torques it and shuts down his mind. And like that's just like, I thought that was a really good scene. But on the other hand, just a crackpot theory I have, which is I also don't think that this is how this show is written, but one thing I think could be a possibility, especially to my Children of the Force aside from Anakin haters out there, is what if she's lying? Mother, like what if she's lying about them being Children of the Force, and actually what she did and what they did as a group is, what if they are sirens and they just find these men who are lost or whatever and then seduce them and then kill them?
Well, Torben kind of answers that question towards the end of the episode. Like, whenever they finally get the blood reports back, he's like, their levels are the exact same.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, because the question gets brought up, but they're twins, so I mean, that's not that crazy. And he's like, no, twins have been tested before, and they still have different midichlorian counts. Theirs are the exact same.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's Indara that says that they're one person but two people. Like,
Yeah, that their like
they're
soul has been split into two.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder.
I thought that was interesting. Like, it's through some sort of, and that's also why I think too that it wasn't necessarily a miracle of the Force like Anakin. I think actually it was something that happened that wasn't supposed to happen through dark magic.
I think
And
they're
that's why
a
it's all
science
twisted.
project.
I think so too. But that's why also the whole siren thing came to mind, is maybe that's who, like, maybe they're not witches and they're more so an order of sirens.
Interesting theory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I definitely
So
think
it's
they're
interesting.
test tube babies. Because they are the only children on the planet. And then I just thought of this. What if Osha and May are actually clones of the mom? Because she's the most powerful, like, force wielder on the planet. And that's why she's, like, the leader of the coven and everything. And so I'm
Yeah,
thinking that they might be clones of the mother.
They could be too. No matter what, though, I actually think that she and the coven, or the coven may not know, but I think no matter what, Mother might be lying
In what way?
about them being like miracles of the Force. Like she may have willingly contributed to them being made. They didn't just appear like Anakin.
Yeah, 100%. And that's
like
why I think that,
it,
like,
it may have been through some sort of like twisted, messed it up dark magic, or it could be through some sort of seduction and a lie kind of thing, or I just don't know. But no matter what, I'm kind of thinking now that it is some sort of action on her part to create these children, not necessarily the Force just creating them.
I think it's
Just
a
'cause.
combination of dark magic and science. And the reason why I also think that Osha and May are like a clone of the mother is because that one scene near the end, whenever the mother starts like turning into like an ethereal like ghost witch thing,
Yep.
and May does is like she starts to like evaporate or whatever, like turn into this like cloud looking thing. Is I think the mother was gonna put like her soul into May.
Yeah.
Because
I
there's
think she
also
was,
this
too.
whole huge talk during this episode of how May and Osha will eventually like lead the coven, and Indara like starts to question. She's like, "But you guys are just children. Why does your mother think that you two will lead the coven one day? If like she's not there, like you guys are just kids." And May's just like, "I don't know. That's just what mother says."
Yeah, and then also too, like, let's look at the Night Sisters. and that's the main example I can think of dark side magic, and that's magick magic in Star Wars. And their whole thing is it's just twisting the light side of the Force to your will, which is why it's the dark side. But on that note, like they bring people back to life that should be dead. They do all these things that are just anti-light side, and I think that this might be one of those things. So perhaps the mother figured out a way to split herself up into two clones of herself, and that's what May and Osha are. And that's why they were literally born to be leaders, because they're partially her.
Well, yeah, we know the Force doesn't like to try to be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, like, Palpatine's experiments never really went right.
Yeah, but also, too, is that why everything goes so wrongly later on in the episode? Is it because the Force is making them reap what they sowed?
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, you also, and I know it's not canon or anything, but I mean, you think of like the Force Unleashed 2 games where it's all like clones of Starkiller, and you eventually like fight all the clones that the Emperor's had and been making, and they're all strong and everything, but they all have like deformities, or they're crazy and things like that.
Yeah, because it's unnatural, it's evil, and so you're twisting the Force to your will, which is wrong.
Yeah, I think the mother definitely had help. I don't think she just did this on her own. Like I said, I think it's science and some dark magic.
Well, and I also, again, crackpot theory here, but what if Kamir is not near as young as he looks? And what if he's the one who helped?
Could be possible. Because we also, which is another thing. I'm not saying that shows have to be super complicated and everything, but we as a group, during our review of this show, have like called a lot of the major plot points that happen in this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll have to wait until I finish it and then kind of go back and listen, but...
Yeah, we've figured out a lot of things that have happened in this show. Which isn't a bad thing. But it's also like...
Yeah.
I want to really have to sit down and think about things sometimes. And Star Wars is like the only thing I can really focus on most of the time if I want to like deep think about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, think about just like any of the original, like any of the 6 films, we'll still sit down, even in our private time, like if we're hanging out, the couple times we all get to hang out over the years and stuff like that, and we'll just like talk about either the prequels or the original 3 films and be like, well, what do you think this means? And we all interpret it differently in things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, for instance, like, on that note, whenever we met up with you earlier this year, Nicole and I, like, the number one thing we talked about was Star Wars at the start there. Because that's just our comfort zone. That's where we start, always. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, we grew up together and we'll be friends for life, but that's our number one common interest, is Star Wars. And so I like it. I like it a lot. And that's also, too, like, why I love this podcast, because I just get to do that with my lifelong friends.
It's like fun. The Force, man. You know, it flows through us, binds us, guides us.
That's right.
I don't know. I've been on a real Qui-Gon kick lately.
Yeah, dude, you got to read Master and Apprentice, because most of it is from his perspective.
I have it. I started it. I don't remember. I think I got it for Christmas. I think my mom got it for Christmas a couple of years ago. And I started reading it, and then I stopped for some reason. I have, like, the physical book.
Yeah, it's a little hard at the start to get through. But also, the audiobook is free on Spotify, too, so.
Really? Mm-hmm. I really like, and like I said, I didn't get too deep into it, but the relationship that we never really got between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in their early years about Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Questioning whether or not to keep Obi-Wan as a Padawan, and Obi-Wan trying to figure out how to get away from Qui-Gon.
Yeah, and that's what I like about that book too, and especially whenever Qui-Gon's offered a council spot. Like that's a big plot point because it opens up that argument. It makes them talk about it.
Right.
Which is interesting, yeah.
I don't think it really takes away from episode 1, that conversation that they have where Obi-Wan's like, if you would just, follow the rules, you'd have a seat on the council.
Yeah, and actually but the other thing that young Obi-Wan doesn't understand is that's actually exactly why Qui-Gon was offered a seat, is because he's different, which is interesting. I mean, you should just read that book. You should read that book for sure.
Okay. I'll do it just because you told me to.
Yeah, it's really good. I think you would like it a lot, and honestly, too, I think we could do an episode just on that book because it's that good.
I mean, if our good friend Josh, shout out the Suited Bird on YouTube, if he asked me to read it, I would read it all in one night.
I will call him and tell him to tell you that.
Okay.
But back to Acolyte though. Other things I appreciated about the episode is with the girls, I actually liked that Soul was there for a lot of it and saw it unfold and was disturbed and went and got in Dara and all that stuff. Because I really think that was the decision that made a lot of these things happen. Is
what,
by
that he was
Soul
doing like the Obi-Wan episode 2 type deal?
Yeah, he was doing the spying and then went and got help, and then that help is actually what makes everything else happen. And I liked the way that this went a lot. With Torben, for instance. I know I called him Tobin earlier. Didn't mean it. His name's Torben. I know that now. But
it's fine.
But it also just, I liked his character just being the rash kid that just wants to go home. And he is on this boring mission, or what he sees as a boring mission, and he just wants to go home, and he's done. He's been on this planet for weeks, and he just can't take it anymore, and so he steals a speeder bike and just runs. I thought that was an interesting way to, like, kick all this off. And then also, too, like, while I was watching, I just felt this sense of, and I know it was meant to be this way just because of how the episode's written, but I just genuinely felt a sense of horror whenever it happened. And Torben gets there, and Soul finds him first and is like, we have to go save those girls because he has the Force vision about what's happening. And so they get in there, and then they get confronted by the witches, and then she starts to go all ethereal. And also Coral, the Zabrak girl.
Yeah. What'd you think about her, dude?
Gets in her fighting stance, and also like how she's like, she was aggressing this whole time.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
And like telling May, like, if you want to stop Osha from leaving, you have to do something about it. So she goes and smashes the elevator and like
you need
tells
to get
all
mad.
the coven like, they're coming for us. No one's getting in or out. Everyone start grabbing weapons.
Yeah, and that's also too why I really think that this coven is actually a cult, and that they actually exist to twist the Force in their own messed up way. I think that's kind of what they're doing, whether they realize it or not. And actually, the mother, I think she's actually one of the few ones who isn't a big problem. I think Coral's one of the biggest problems they have, but they don't realize it.
I think that whenever they created Osha and May, I think the mother kind of regretted it.
Yeah.
Because she saw that, like, oh, if you do this stuff, like, there are consequences. And she loves her children, right? But she knows that May is going to be a major problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I like that for this show. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then at the end there, whenever everything kicks off, like the reason that I felt this sense of horror was that it's like everything seems to happen by accident. Like the Jedi, other than Coral. Coral's the only one that I think is trying to be an aggressor. But everyone else is trying to stop things from happening. And then whenever the fire happens, May runs in yelling for her mom. And then her mom says, well, she doesn't say anything. And then she starts to go all ethereal, which actually I think whenever she does that, I think either, like you said, that she's trying to possess May in order to save Osha, or I could also see her like maybe in that spiritual form, maybe she would be able to stop the fire. Like
I would say it's more the
smother
first one, just because we saw May start to do it too, and because I feel like the mother knew that she probably wasn't going to live through this event. So she was going to put her soul back into the daughter.
Oh, okay.
In order to like keep going, so that there would be like a remnant of their society, because they all die.
Yeah, yeah.
Which they don't die by a fire. And
Well, yeah,
Dara
and
kills
that's-
them.
Right, which that I wanted to get to that. Just walking through the events here, the most important part of the whole series is that she does that. Soul kills her because he feels like he has to, which I don't fault Soul for at all.
I think he was scared. I think he was going purely off of feelings right then.
Yeah, and honestly, like, but who wouldn't?
And
If someone
also
started turning all evil and ethereal in front of you, like, yeah, I'd stab him too, because I'd be terrified. Yeah.
But he only did that because he thought, whenever he saw the child like going all ethereal and whatnot, he thought that was Osha. He didn't know it was May.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and then when Coral, because what starts is Coral gets in like a fighting stance, and then Torben draws his lightsaber, and then that's what makes the mother go ethereal, and that's what kicks this whole thing off. But again, like this moment, I thought it was really good, because again, it gave me such a sense of dread. Like as soon as she started doing that, and then Soul draws his lightsaber, I was like, oh no. And then he stabs her, and I was like, oh no. And then her last words are, I would have let her go.
Yeah, I was going to let her go with you.
I was going to let her go with you. This is what she wants to do.
But yeah, the only reason he killed the mom is because he thought it was Osha.
Yeah, but I thought that was so interesting. I really did. I just, this whole exchange, I think is the best part of this episode, in my opinion. And then after that, we get some more of, Indara and, what's the Wookiee's name?
Kelnaka.
Kelnaka, thank you. We get more of them in the ship, and then we also get Torben and the witches fighting, and then also same thing with Soul. And then all of a sudden, we hear, you shouldn't have brought him here. And then we get evil Kelnaka, which I thought was also interesting. And the way they were able to do it is the witches just concentrating and combining their force powers, which, as a fan of the older EU stuff, I thought was interesting, because actually the Jedi do that a couple of times. They do it in a different way, but by all concentrating together a few times in the EU, that's actually how they strip someone of their power.
Well, they do it in Clone Wars too. Remember whenever they capture, I think it's Poggle the Lesser.
Oh yeah, so yeah, never mind. So that is canon now to a degree. That force power.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, they capture Poggle, and I think it's Anakin, Mace, and Obi-Wan all focus on his mind, and they're like, we have to be careful about this, because if we do this too hard, like, we can make someone go insane.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll kill him. Yeah, and then in the EU, what they do is they're able to do that, and I can't think of the Sith's name, but they're able to do it and essentially strip him of his Force ability.
Essentially, yes.
Essentially, yes. Which I thought was just really interesting. But anyways, and then so Kalnaka goes all evil, and I like seeing that dude fight. I thought it was cool. And then we get to a point where Kalnaka has the upper hand, and then Indara comes out of nowhere, and she starts doing what you think is going to just clear his mind. But she not only does that, instead of clearing his mind, like just clearing his mind, she kills all of the witches with the Force.
Do you think she killed them?
I think she killed them. Yeah. But I also the problem I have with that is just I don't think a Jedi is able to do that. Like I don't think they're that powerful. I can only think of a few Force sensitive beings that would maybe have that ability, and we're talking about like 2 or 3 Sith that could do that. I don't really see a Jedi being able to do that, because that just goes so against what the Jedi can do.
Yeah, I will say after seeing Kalnaka fight in this show, I understand why there aren't more Wookiee Jedi, because that dude is just powerful.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, I know that Wookiees are intelligent, and I love Wookiees, but in the end, they are very intelligent wild animals. And, like, you have to, like, I could see that, too. Like, I mean, as far as them being peacekeepers, I could see the Jedi being afraid of them, and rightfully so. Because they can rip your arms off. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also, too, I love the Wookiees. I think they're really interesting. But what were you saying about Wookiee Jedi? Like, why they shouldn't? What was your opinion?
Oh, no.
Same thing?
Yeah, I'm just saying I know why there aren't more of them. They're way too powerful.
Yeah, because they're very intelligent, and they are Force sensitive, some of them. But they're just... They are the unstoppable Force. So you better be an immovable object if you want to stand up to one. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of Indara in this episode.
No, I wasn't either. I thought, but what I did think was good for the show is that I didn't like her.
Yeah, no, this show
and that she did so much wrong.
Yeah, this show is done really well at being like, everyone's always complained that the Jedi not seeing the great bad coming so quickly was a big deal, which really it's not. It's just that we see it in 3 movies that take place over like a large expanse of time, because episode 1, Anakin's 9, episode 2, he's like 19, and then in episode 3, he's like, it's a couple years later, he's like 23 or 21 or something.
Yeah. Right.
And everybody's like, how did the Jedi lose the entire galaxy in a matter of like 12 years?
Yeah, but the truth is that they started losing it for the past couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Through stuff like this. This is just one incident of why the Jedi are declining. And it's exploring just the issues that they have. And I think Indara actually represents that very well. And so that's why I think she killed the witches, and she did it on purpose to save Kalnaka. Because in her mind, the Jedi are what matter. These random people on this planet don't matter because they're not Jedi.
I think it was more like these people are a force that could become a real problem. So we should get rid of them now.
Yeah, and that's also, too, why later on the ship she suggests that they lie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She suggests that they cover it up.
Which is why Torben, of course, takes his vow of silence, because whenever they're on the ship, she's like... Torben asks, he's like, well, what are we going to tell the council? And she's just like, the truth. May started a fire, everyone died. Besides OSHA, we were able to save OSHA, everyone's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get, too, why Torben couldn't live with himself. Because, like, up until that point through watching the episode, I was like, why does Torben go into a vow of silence? So this is just weird. And then that happened, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It's because he just feels so disgusting by what happened that he just can't handle it. Yeah.
What'd you think about Soul? Which this was also a prediction that we made, that Soul would have to choose between May and OSHA, and that's why they thought May was dead.
Yeah. Well, you know, in his mind, like through what he says and stuff, I can somewhat sympathize with him a little bit, just because, I mean, through what he observed, May was the evil one. If he was in a situation where they're both falling, like what happens, he chose the one that he thought would live and live well, you know, and like actually have like he chose the one that wasn't going to lead people down a path of destruction, which is very tragic and was a mistake that he made. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that that's why I think he made that choice.
I don't know. It's a hard choice to make. It's a good thing it's a show.
And also, too, I guess, too, like, it also could be the fact that he just happened to be closer to May, too. Like, physically closer. Like, more able to catch her. You know, that's possible also. But just through what he says throughout the episode, as far as, like, talking about the mark and that she's been tainted through force magic and all that stuff, and then also how he observes her try to kill the butterfly and stuff like that. Like, I think Soul definitely was pretty aware.
He definitely also didn't make it
Mm-hmm.
easy on himself, because even Indara calls him out for it. He's like, you formed an emotional attachment to OSHA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. He's like, no, I just care about their well-being. I want them to be safe. These children matter.
Yeah, but also, too, the truth is he did make an emotional attachment. But that's why, like, this is all Soul's big mistake.
Yeah.
And, but I like the way that the story fleshes all of this out as far as what happened and why it happened.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We got one more episode left.
That's the truth. I'm excited. But you have anything else to say? Got any closing thoughts?
One more episode.
Yeah, I am so excited to see how this ends up. I really am.
I hope you aren't too excited, considering the show is now canceled.
Well, I mean, for instance, Obi-Wan, one-season shows can be really good.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Not every show has to have 10 seasons.
You're not wrong, but if I put this show up against Obi-Wan, it would be a no contest. So,
well, yeah, but we're also prequel fanboys. I'm just saying that for 2024, that this is at the moment giving a pretty serious look for number one to me.
I don't know, man.
In our tournament, we'll see.
We'll
see how I feel at the end.
That means you haven't watched the newest Lego Star Wars special.
Oh, yes. Yeah, actually, dude, I am excited about that, and I will be watching that very soon, but haven't seen it yet.
It's great for what it is.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I love those specials. I think they're funny.
They're the best. Misa gonna hurt you.
All right. Well, if you have any questions or, you know, want to just leave a comment as far as what you thought about the episode, or also too just want to chat, feel free to email us. Goodness gracious. Feel free to email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com.
Or animal us, whatever you want.
Either way, man. Animalus@email.com. Again, that is animalus@email.com.
If you want Elijah back, leave a comment. If you don't want Elijah back, leave a comment saying why.
For the Animal Squadron, this has been MotherGoose.
And Lowtech Tuck.
HouseDog.
And Josh.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Adios.